my delight in talking about spirit, God, presence. It makes me it it wants to come out of me. That's what. It wants to come out, and I feel compelled to allow it. So, and the truth of the matter is that it has changed. I believe in something that I want to talk about. I want it to be normalized to talk about God in a different way than the narrative that we have been told our entire lives. We need freedoms to be able to speak about a thing that moves us and not be condemned by mainstream or by others simply because we believe slightly different than perhaps the majority of the people where we live. Although I think there's a lot of people who find that there are some contradictions in their faith that they have a hard time reconciling. And I think that's why we are seeing a drop in attendance at churches in particular, because we are finding that there is something else out there for us. And while we might be in the closet, some of us, about how we talk about God, I think there are more and more people seeking something that's different. And I encourage you to seek. Seek something different. Seek that which brings your heart joy in a childlike manner. I believe that that is what the spirit within us is seeking, that childlike amusement and wonder at what could be. What are the possibilities? We have been manipulated and coerced and advertised to in such a way that it is very much against the laws of nature. And therefore, I don't believe that any of us could actually know anything. I think it's best to be always seeking, always looking, always curious. When your religion excludes you, when it tells you not to seek, that's, I think, when you should worry. If your religion is really the truth, then nothing will take you from it. But if you find something that's more true, I don't think you should live in a way that you fear making those choices going forward in your life. Presence, getting back to our discussion on presence. Presence brings you courage. How does that work exactly? It provides you with a sense of faith in the present moment that this unifying energy of all that is really is on your side. You can feel it. When you're in the present moment, the whisper of God tells you that good idea. It's intuition. Your intuition is strong in the present moment. You really have to get out of your own way, though. You really have to step aside and say, I don't know everything. I don't know exactly what the history of humankind is. I don't know if the church manipulated the teachings of the religion that I belong to. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that I'm not going to hell, because I'm living in heaven right now, right here, right now. because I've set the thoughts aside that I'm not worthy, that first of all, there is a hell. I do believe there is hell, and it's here on earth if you are not living in the present moment. If you're continually in your head and you're always worried about the next terrible thing that could go wrong, that's hell. Suffering, stress, anxiety, anger. That's hell. It's not a place, it's a state of being. And lots of us are putting ourselves there when we're not living in the present moment. The present moment requires us to accept what is, any belief system that we had in the past that isn't aligned with truth, that isn't aligned with expansion of humanity. That blue looks pretty cool on the monitor. I don't believe any of those thoughts are of God. Anyone who wants to go backwards and says, we need to get back to the way we were, we're never going to go backwards. Time is an illusion anyway, but we are always going to keep going forward. Going backwards is not an option. We need to look at how we're going to go forward in the best possible light. And what I believe that you need to do, or we all need to do, is be the best version of ourselves going into the future. Because it really appears as though we are not at this moment in time. When you can go to the store and be huffed at and puffed at and hollered at practically from strangers at the grocery store because they're in a hurry and you're in their way. This isn't the best version of that human being that you can see. And I'm sure if you caught that human being a bad version of themselves on camera, they might be ashamed. Well, we would hope that they would be ashamed a little bit anyway. If you're going around thinking everybody is a dumbass, sorry kids if you're watching. If you're going around with that idea in your head, you might have some anger issues you need to deal with. You're not in the present moment. You must have something that strikes your heart that you worry about. And I'm here to say, we got to let that go. We got to start thinking about a future where we all get our shit together and we make feeding ourselves one of our number one priorities. Because the food that we are being given in the stores is not quality, nutritious, thriving food. We have to make choices in this life that move us forward, and quite honestly, it's a challenge in the state of being that we live in. Every state. In every state, nutritious food is more expensive than cheap, crappy, over-processed food. Does your mind ever curious about that? Do you ever wonder, how can it be that a hamburger is cheaper than a tomato? The tomato grows on the vine, prolific. Somebody has to pick it. And true, you can't just eat a tomato. But it's all about subsidies, you guys. We're subsidizing the food so that it's crap. got work to do in this country. Serious work. We've got serious problems. And we don't have any serious leaders. It's kind of an issue. But again, I don't believe that that's my problem to solve. I'm hoping that the energy that those of us who adopt this new symbol and create peace in our hearts, in an image, in something we can stand behind, in a belief system of a new version of ourselves, of a new earth, I'm hoping that in that effort, the solutions come to the top and we all benefit. That's what I believe this symbol is going to do for us. It's a pretty big project. And yet, I really believe that that's where we're headed. It's easy to think that we could be completely controlled by the government. All of our freedoms could be taken away with this new security state that some people are trying to freak us out about, and how all of our freedoms are at risk right now. And yeah, I do believe they are at risk right now. But I also believe that miracles happen. We have no idea what could transpire if enough of us believed with courage that we could create a new future. Anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible. We're living in a new age, one that's never been explored before. I wish you could see the iridescence of this. It's really kind of pretty. You can if you come to our workshop April 21st at Illuminations. This will be the 4th workshop that we are hosting. We just got the stencils and the booklet printed up in February, and here it is April, and we're already on our 4th workshop. Reactions to the workshop have been super positive, and I see us only growing in the future. This is just the very beginning, you guys. Just the very, very tip of where we're headed with this thing. We're going to change the world. I keep saying that, and it's already happening, I believe. We're just living into that version now. And what it requires of all of us is to stay positive, and we are positive in the present moment. If you're standing in the grocery line and you're complaining continually about what's going on in front of you, this person's too slow, good gracious, why can't they control their children? Whatever it is taking you out of the present moment. And instead, even if the present moment isn't all that enjoyable, give your energy to the present moment and imagine a better future. The thoughts in your head are created by you, which some of us find resistance to that notion. Some people say, well, I have a really hard time controlling that. Yes, it's true, you do, but you're still the one creating them. I'm not creating the thoughts in your head. The media is trying to create thoughts in your head. But the truth is, you are the creator of the thoughts in your head. And you need to wrangle those thoughts in and be the one in charge. You need to be the master of the thoughts in your head. How do you do that? Do a project that occupies your mind so that you recognize what that feeling feels like. And then when you're not doing that project, you are more easily recognizing when you are not in the present moment. So say you take on painting or sewing or crocheting. It can be like a mantra, something like painting, sewing, woodworking. You want to occupy the mind so it doesn't have a chance to also complain and worry and stress. Instead, it's occupied with the creation that you're making, which delights the God inside you and makes you a better version of yourself. And that's really what we're all aiming to be, is a better version of ourselves. Be the best version of yourself that you can be. Art helps you with that. I'd really like to emphasize more of the swirl going on here, but I think this paint is a little too thick for me to get a nice, maybe it's the brush. I need a longer bristled brush, because the longer bristles hold more paint and allow you to make longer sweeping strokes. So this is really much too fat, but I don't want little tiny brush strokes up here. I want this to be more flat. So I'm using this big brush and trying to get in here right next to the tree. So ideally, I probably should have painted the background first and then put the tree over it. You know, follow my own advice maybe sometimes, Zini. I think I've said that before in other videos. But I've been doing the watercolor, and the watercolor is pretty easy to maneuver around the tree. So see, patterns are hard to break. It's hard to think in a new way. You recognize when you're doing art that you got to think in a new way. You got to think about what paint goes on first. It's a matter of being present, because I believe that the God inside you knows better than you how to paint. In fact, when I started painting in 2018, I took it seriously, and I was very unhappy, suicidal even, to the point that I just could not even imagine going on. I was always thinking about how could I fake my death so that it looked like an accident. Scary, huh? And now here I'm doing the Peace Project. That's what art did to me. But what happened was that I would stay up really late because I believed that I needed to be in a state of a little bit of a delusional state. I needed to be sleep deprived, and I needed to have a little bit of alcohol, not too much, maybe a beer, because I'm a pretty lightweight. Now I don't drink at all, but I would have a beer, and I would stay up late, and I would paint. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning, just about the point of being completely, like can't hardly keep my eyes open, super, super tired, that's when I would notice that something was painting for me. I got blue on the tree here, and I want to darken this anyway, so not that color. I don't want that color on the tree. Must be this other color I used. So I could feel within me that something was a better painter than I was. And I could watch my hand paint. It was like it was on autopilot. I would just watch as my hand knew exactly what to do. And it created the painting. I was in awe. And the moment I would think to myself, oh, that brushstroke isn't so good, I would fall out of that. And I started to realize there's something in me that's painting that's not me. There's something beyond me that's painting. That was about the time that I heard Eckhart talk about the now, and he spoke of something bigger than us inside us. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's what's happening. This God within me, which I believe there was a God within me anyway. That was a common teaching of the Christian faith that I was in. And here's the thing, there's 34,000 sects, registered sects of Christianity. There's so many because we don't have it right, because we can't figure out exactly, everybody's got a different idea of how it should be. So we've created all these different versions of it, and some of the groups, not us, some of them have completely cut out the notion that you are a God inside you. But the basis of the Christian faith, the true orthodox teachings of the Christian faith, speak to the fact that there is a God inside you, and that the goal is to access that God. So that God inside me wants to paint. And I'm trying to listen to it as much as I can, because that God inside me is brilliance, genius. And I'm trying to stay out of my own way so that I can hear it and follow all of its advice. Divine inspiration. You can get there. You absolutely can get there. And you get there through presence. I didn't spend a ridiculous amount of time in meditation, although I think meditation is excellent. I should probably meditate more. Ooh, look at those. Those are going to be pretty. Let's see how many I can fit in here. I can't see where I drew them, so. I got this suitcase up on a saw table, a table that you would use for a saw. I like the height of it. I want to squat. I like being grounded next to the ground. That one I kind of did bad. Let's What do you think? I think it's looking pretty cool. I think I'll give this a little more gold up here. Presence. I keep getting off topic. It's all related though. It's all presence. As I was saying, I didn't do a massive amount. I used to pray a lot. But my prayer was always more of a mantra than to ask for a thing, because again, as I've said before, I do believe that the Spirit knows better than me what is best for me. And I've always had that opinion that I don't need to ask for a thing, because if I'm living in a way that is pleasing to God, creator, cosmic creator, whatever you call this unifying energy force, knows better than me what I need. And therefore, I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to sit and try to meditate exactly on that which should be brought to me, because that which should be brought to me is going to be brought to me from my best and highest every time. So that's where my faith sits, the highest and best. I do believe that simulation theory is very fascinating. And if the energy that we create and the thoughts that we make in our head is fueling our future, then I'd say by that measure I'm doing pretty well too. Because I keep a good eye on what thoughts I'm creating. I'm not in my head. I'm accepting of what is. I am working towards a project that hopefully will help the world find more peace and more communion with the spirit that is all-knowing, the unifying force of all things. Phew. Just barely saved it. It's looking pretty good. So now when I'm doing this, I'm just looking for holes that I think need a little something, and I try to figure out how to make the brush make something that looks like a leaf in that spot. Not that easy because I'm using this big brush, but I would like the shape of the petals that it's making, so I want to keep at it. Presence. Yeah. So when I was in the faith, I would repeat a mantra. The rosary is a mantra. The mantra that I would repeat was not the rosary, it was an Orthodox mantra. And I was very religious about repeating it. It was when I would dig in the garden, and with every shovel stroke, I would repeat that mantra. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, forgive me, a sinner. I have issues with that mantra. I had issues with that mantra when I was saying it. But I kept going and I kept doing it because I thought it was going to make me find God. But the truth is, I found God outside the mantra. That's for sure. I found God in the present moment. I found that when I brought presence to every relationship and to every existence, that it changed. I found that people really liked me when I was in the present moment. And I didn't get that when I wasn't, before I knew. About presence. I found that just the right things came out of my head, often, out of my mouth rather, and out of my head. Right at the right moment, I would know when to do a thing or how to do a thing. presence. How do you get out of your head long enough to be present? How do you be in the present moment? Do art. The art itself will open you up and will lead you to the next thing that you need to do. It'll lead you to the next teacher that you need to listen to. It'll lead you to the answers that you're seeking for if you live in the present moment, because that's where God whispers those answers to you. So often we're stuck in our head complaining about, oh, now we have to go do this, or now we have to go do that. And yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to do that we put in our own lives because we think that that's what society is instructing us to do. We don't have to do those things. And in the present moment, you'll find ways to get yourself out of the stuff that you don't want to do anymore. You'll find ways to change those things in your life that aren't working for you. You'll find those that change ideas in the present moment. You know, the hummingbird knows how to be a hummingbird because there's a hummingbird frequency. The hummingbird doesn't hang out with its parents that long to hang out to know how to be a hummingbird. Very few birds do. The ants know how to be ants right from the beginning. They get in line, they start doing the ant thing. Owls know how to be owls. And believe it or not, humans would know how to be humans if the man part of our human existence wasn't so loud. If we weren't so programmed in a program that keeps us from being able to hear the whisper of God in all that we do. That's the present moment. That's what happens in the present moment, is that you hear the whisper of God in the present moment. You know, when Bob Ross painted, he would paint 3. I only have 1 suitcase though, so I could have painted on the back, I guess, and done a little experiment so that I knew exactly what I was doing. But again, I'm not painting happy trees. Although this tree seems pretty happy to me. One little happy tree. All right. Oh, we got just a few here I think we could add in, and then we could make a part 3, I think. But we're doing pretty good. This one has a few empty holes we need to fill. penny holes. This looks like it could have something. And over here, maybe right here. With a little hint of gold on there. Too much. That's okay. We'll go in with some blue, I think. I'm feeling like this side's way lighter than that side, so I want to. Let's see, this one's kind of ugly, so let's give that a little. Now we'll give it a little of this. Well, I'm not crazy about those changes. Let's see. This one still is not quite right. I've got too much paint on my brush. That looks pretty good. I think I'm happy with that.